Hello, everybody. Welcome to this YouTube exclusive stream of this watch along of Love Never Dies. Saw it trend in Twitter today, and it was almost like the entire Broadway world kind of experienced like a big like Vietnam flashback moment with everybody talking about it. And for the first time, the thing that I thought was referring to on the internet actually happened. So I'm sure some of you have already noticed that some of you have already noticed that um, for a couple of weeks now, this YouTube channel called The Shows Must Go On has been live streaming special recordings of various Broadway hits and shows for the past few weeks, just to give a little bit of a distraction from everything that's been going on in the outside world, and also to do fundraising towards the research of finding a vaccine or some more definitive treatment and prevention methods for COVID-19, and to help out families too. But it seems like the one that's been getting the most press on Twitter and YouTube lately is the infamous sequel, even though Andrew Lloyd Webber will not call it a sequel. By literature accounts and even by the way that this play is portrayed, I would call it a sequel. So the unofficial, very first musical sequel of all time to the greatest hit, Phantom of the Opera. Here is the sequel, Love Never Dies. But I feel like before we even get into this watch along, I thought it would be a good thing to just um, go over an oral history, because this is something that I firsthand lived through. Now this might be coming as a surprise to you, but I am very much a theater buff. I've studied theater in college, not as a major, but as a big interest of mine. I know stuff about the Old Vic, the West End, Broadway, the middle of which I almost auditioned for many years back. Super long story. I may do a vlog about it if you're interested. And even Sydney's play scene. I mean, Australia. That's how we got big people like Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, and Kate Blanchett, just to name a few. And the other triple threats that they are, it makes Juilliard and any theater school in the US look like a playground, look like child's play, compared to some of the rigorous stuff that Melbourne and Sydney tend to go through to make all those actors and actresses triple threats in performance. Just seriously, look at some of the movies and shows that some of those actors I just mentioned have done before they even became big Hollywood stars. You'll see why they have the names that they do in the performance industry. Okay? But that's not the reason why I bring this up. Well, Australia will come back to in a moment. But for right now, we are going to talk about the early history of Love Never Dies. It's something I've kind of had to suppress for the past decade, so grab your favorite beverage of choice because it's going to be a long one. Yeah, the show's almost 2 hours, so get comfy, get some food and some drinks, alcoholic or otherwise, because it's going to be a long one. So the Phantom sequel, or Angela Level wants to call it a sequel, or a standalone. I'm just calling it a sequel because that's what it is. So the Phantom sequel, Love Never Dies, takes place. First was done in 2010 with Ramin Karimloo as reprising his role as the Phantom, and Sierra Bodges reprising her role as Christine Daae. Now, since it's become the Vicomtesse, because she married Raoul. So yeah, that was the first opening back in 2010, and this was the one that basically started the flame wars. Love Should Die, because of the way that the musical turned out. Now, the 2010 show trying to find copies of the repertoire, like the actual show, let alone the songs that happened during that period, are practically impossible to find. This is back in the infancy days when like YouTube videos of longtime Broadway or musical performances could be pretty easy to find. But nowadays, it feels like it's kind of lost to technological history, even though part of its appeal was actually through YouTube. One of the first indications of Love Never Dies was actually through a few select um, YouTube videos that basically hinted at what the musical could possibly be about, hinting at a Coney Island setting in the 1900s. And then, of course, there is the big epic song with Ramin Karimloo performing Till I Hear You Sing Once More. And that, at that moment, that one song that he performed, not only because of Karimloo's masterful performance, but also just the way that they shot this video just gave a little bit of hope that maybe this might turn out okay. Maybe like this might turn out fine. Maybe Angela Weber would surprise us. That was until the actual show happened in London in 2010. And you think the Game of Thrones finale and the way the actors reacted to it was bad? If you look closely at the Broadway.com interviews that Ramin Karimloo and Sierra just did in the initial run of Love Never Dies, that should give you a hint that something was going terribly wrong behind the scenes. It was so bad, in fact, that apparently investors pulled what was supposed to be a simultaneous run in Broadway. That got canceled right after the bad reviews of the West End performance. Not too long after they started performing in the West End. It was so bad, in fact, that a year later, in 2011, see where I'm calling back to Australia here, a new version in 2011 starring Ben Lewis and Anna O'Byrne, which is the version we're actually going to be watching on YouTube today. Obviously not on the channel, though, because I don't want to get copyright struck, and the video's only up for 48 hours. However, you still can actually buy or rent the actual recording of the musical on various platforms here. But for a free exposure to this, you only have 48 hours to do so. So if you want to check it out without spending any money, this is basically the time to do so. And it's run on Britain Standard Time, so you basically have until Sunday morning to watch the whole 2 hours, okay? So if you got time, some stuff to kill, and maybe a little bit of your cabinet or your tea pantry to knock off, this is a pretty good time to do so. But yeah, 2011 was when the show saw huge revisions. Some of the plot points were struck off from the original run, but for the most part, it runs relatively exactly the same. And this version is a lot easier to come up, and this is the more generally acceptable version. And this is the one that seems to be repeating a lot around the world over time. There have been performances in Danish and Japanese, one of which is actually starring Takashi Kaga. That's right, the chairman from Iron Chef plays the Phantom in Love Never Dies. Dude's a personality. And then the original then there's the German, they also had it in German, and then eventually in 2017 we got a North American version. Now, 2020, they were supposed to have a UK tour of the show, but the probability is pretty good that it probably got shuttered because of COVID-19. That's probably why these recordings are popping up on YouTube now. But yeah, so to give you a little bit more of a backstory, this story of Love Never Dies is loosely based on a fanfic of sorts, The Phantom of Manhattan by Frederick Forsyth. And the story, it feels very much that's leaning towards more the musical adaptation of Phantom of the Opera rather than the original tale by Gaston Leroux. But because of that flexibility, I think it's how he got the easiest time to actually publish it back in the day. And this was back before like fan fiction had that strange limbo of being able to straight up adapt it versus nowadays where you actually have to like change the naming to a certain extent in order to be able to let it pass through the federal censors in the U.S. nowadays. But back then, it wasn't as strict. So this passed through. So for those who are familiar with the Phantom of Manhattan, you're pro- you're probably going to know Love Never Dies pretty much from cover to cover. Now, the book itself I never actually read, but I read the summary, and by that theory, it actually looks pretty, like, at least to me, it looks pretty good on paper. Emphasis on paper. Because theoretically, if the Phantom did try to make a business venture after the destruction of the Paris Opera House, the probability is pretty good that he would be swindled again. Especially by the way that the Americans tended to look at the freak community. And of course, if you add the Europeans in the mix, of course, it would be one of the most ridiculous and the most controlling business ventures you could experience back in the day. So, and considering the Phantom's upbringing on top of that, the probability was pretty good that he was going to be manipulated by his business partners. So he basically went from one manipulative relationship at the Paris Opera House to another manipulative relationship with corrupt New York tycoons. That was one of the biggest critiques in the book, but actually, I think that part is totally plausible. Another thing was that Christine at that point had retired from opera since she became a vicomtesse. Again, that one's very possible, and it's only by an invitation by Oscar Hammerstein the First. Yes, that Oscar Hammerstein, as in Rogers and Hammerstein, that she decides to come out of retirement and do an encore performance. That again, totally plausible. I mean, considering that she got wealthy after spending years in the opera house as an orphan, the probability is pretty good that she just doesn't want any reminders of having that lower down um, lifestyle again, especially going through something as traumatic as fighting off the Phantom. Even though the singing also kind of gave her a life. Now, the reason why I kind of felt a little bit better, as kind of say on paper this would work, is also because there actually was a pretty good fanfic of Love Never Dies, which I don't remember the title of it, unfortunately, but I'm sure it's on fanfiction.net. That's where I originally came across this when I first heard of the musical. There's a pretty good fanfic on there that basically describes the 10-year gap between um, between what do we call it? Between the original Phantom musical and Love Never Dies. And the reason Christine's retirement happened was because ultimately she had a vocal injury from one crazed fan, which would make a lot of sense considering all the retirements. But of course, this is the fan fiction, not the actual book or Angela Weber's thing. So I'm saying, on paper, it could totally work. It would be historical. It would have been a historical momentous occasion if they somehow managed to get the first sequel on Broadway do just as well as the original. Obviously, it can't do better than the original because the original has gone on for decades. There's no one can beat the original. But if it came out just as good as the original, it would be a performative miracle in and of itself. But then the biggest problem that they had, well, with the original film, they got Joel Schumacher, which already was the kiss of death when it came to the adaptation. I mean, there are already a lot of questions about musical adaptations to begin with in terms of the movie medium. But then it kind of got exaggerated a bit more when it came to directorial styles. In particular, um, Joel Schumacher's performance. First indication was The Wiz. Second indication was Batman. Final nail in the coffin, I think, for Joel Schumacher's career was the adaptation of Phantom of the Opera. But then it kind of made an even bigger revelation that the biggest problem was not the director in this case, so much as the writer, Andrew Lloyd Webber. Because when you look back on it, the moment Phantom of the Opera was created, it seemed like that's when his downhill trajectory began in the musical industry. Phantom of the Opera basically cost his relationship with Sarah Brightman. And then Love Never Dies basically cost his reputation in the musical world as a whole. Evita almost did it. It kind of got reversed with the fact that it the fact that despite its glaring historical inaccuracies, especially when it came to Ava Perón's character, the music was very catchy, very Andrew Lloyd Webber, very Andrew Lloyd Webber-esque. Then of course there's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and Jesus Christ Superstar that just got him on the map in terms of musicals. Phantom of the Opera, taken off of the stratosphere like that at its timing, you'd think that we would have a solid writer. But then some cracks began to show the moment that musical kind of started passing through its loops on Broadway, and then the sequel especially came out. And in particular, a lot of its reused tropes, but especially the rock opera genre. So people have said that it died in the 80s. Honestly, I don't think so. There's a way to do rock opera right. Phantom of the Opera may have started the trend, but other musicals have refined it even more and made it just as good, if not better. Stuff like Tanz der Vampire and Catherine basically one-upped the rock opera genre. Unfortunately, those plays are not English translated, so you're not going to be able to get an idea of what they're saying, but the music in those two shows are brilliant. Go watch them, if you can. If they have subs, blessings to whoever did them, because at the time I watched those musicals, they just didn't have any subs at all. They were German exclusives or Korean exclusives, because Saya Junsu from JYJ and previously TVXQ actually performed Tanz der Vampire back before he became a big K-pop star. But anyway, the biggest factor apparently with all these things was Weber himself. Especially with how much control he was putting over the property, even though the Phantom himself wasn't really his. It was LaRue's, and ultimately, it was the people's. Whatever the people said, whatever the audience says goes. And they said no. And I admit, I'm one of them. I was one of them. And maybe I still am one of them. Because for the first time in a decade, I am actually going to see the musical from start to finish. Again, there are no copies of the 2010 performance anywhere. Apparently it was not recorded. Or not recorded in its high quality. But we are seeing the 2011 revision. Is it any better than the original? We shall go ahead and find out. So again, if you've not gotten your snacks already, now's the time to do so. And also donate to the foundations that are actually helping out with this cause. Because, especially with all the negativity that's going out there, whether it's illness or the self-generated frustrations that we have, this is a good time to relieve them by doing some good. So, yeah. Without further ado, here is the reaction to the Phantom of the Opera standalone, Love Never Dies. Now I'm going to keep these headphones on, not because of sound. I'm actually watching it on my TV, so that's why you're going to kind of see me look up a little bit. But I will try to talk as much as possible. And we'll have maybe like a 5-minute intermission for you to like get some snacks or something and stretch your legs, just like a regular play. So, yeah, let's begin. Now, you did say that Angela Weber did say that you didn't have to know the original play or the original story to get the idea of this performance. I respectfully disagree. I think you still have to have some knowledge of the Phantom of the Opera in order to be able to get some sense out of this. But you know what? I've always seen like my parents have little to no information about Phantom of the Opera. I kind of want to see what their gym reaction is to it before this show gets taken off YouTube. So I may do that. Also, I found out that the Michael Jackson Vivo channel actually put up the bad concert from Wembley, and it's the good footage, not the one we got in the 25 pack. So that might be my next reaction. Also, this is totally spontaneous, so I didn't actually plan this all out. I just decided to just do it on a whim. So forgive me if I'm not having the very deliberate dialogue that I usually would during my playthroughs or something. So I'm still kind of trying to figure out like what words to say during this thing. But yeah, much like the Oscars, we are going to have some fun with this. So we are going to start the show in three, two, one, starto. During these unprecedented times, charitable organizations continue to make heroic efforts to help those affected by COVID-19. We have added a donate button to help support the remarkable work of the Actors Fund, which actors, they certainly need their money too. The Actors Fund provides emergency financial aid and to help cover essential medication costs and basic living expenses to those affected. In the description below, we have also included donation links to support the extraordinary work of the NHS and international arts charities. So the channel is mainly British, but yeah, if you can, please do donate to support their phenomenal work. It is a British thing. This channel, by the way, it is a British thing. So it's mainly gonna be British musicals they're covering, but it looks like they're also planning to cover American plays at some point. Case in point, they played the Donny Osmond version of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and the Broadway version of whatchamacallit, Jesus Christ Superstar. There we go. That was the thing. That's kind of funny. Like every single performance I put up here so far is Angela Weber related. So I wonder if it's just the theme. It's just the theme for this month. They're just blasting everything in the Angela Weber catalog, and then they're gonna put something else down the line during this quarantine. Who knows? But yeah, it's kind of a genius idea because not everybody can afford Broadway shows. Even I can't really do it that often whenever I can. So this is actually a pretty genius idea. If you want to um, your expose your family or your friends to Broadway, but you're not able to afford the entire if you're not able to afford the entire recording or the entire performance, or you only have like snippets from YouTube, it's a good way to actually watch it for free. So definitely give it a shot. So yeah, enough babbling. We're gonna keep going. I'm at the 40-second mark. So 3, 2, 1, start though. Thanks and enjoy the show. Okay. And it's the old Universal logo before they got that epic orchestral with the violins and voices before it got bought up by Comcast. Paris, 1895. A mysterious fire consumed the Opera Populaire. A mob campaigned through the theater's twisted catacombs, having for the masked man they held responsible. Only his mask was ever found. Oh yeah. By the way, it's supposed to take place 10 years after, um, even though actually the original musical took place in 1885, which is actually 20 years before. But for the sake of this play, they actually pushed it forward 10 years, so that way people didn't get disturbed by the anachronism. Now, if it if the original actually took place in 1895, that would totally make sense. But the original took place in 1885, completely different time period. So unless it's like they tried to revive the opera populaire 10 years after the original musical and the fire, and then it failed, so then it's 10 years after, and they tried to just make their start in Coney Island. That makes 10 times more sense. No need to cover it up. But that's one of the biggest revisions in 2011 interpretation. um but yeah, that's the part I totally forgot. The original was 20 years later. Now it's 10. So I paused at 140. Let me just keep going. The Phantom and his organ. I'm at the opening's pretty epic. I'm not gonna lie. Like it means the most of the part. And like I mentioned earlier, it's the Australian rewrite. So this is with Ben Lewis and Anna O'Byrne. So for those who lean towards more Sierra Bodges and Ramin Karimloo, it is going to be a little bit disappointing, but I have listened to the recordings of Ben Lewis and Anna O'Byrne, and they do have some chemistry too. So I think for those who have that bias, don't worry about it. This is actually pretty good. There were also some complaints about the costume design back in the day, back during this period as well. So they started to like revise, especially some of the Coney Island segments. So hopefully things get better. And then the relationship between Christine and Meg, they revised that a little bit as well. Because originally it was more of a jealous spin because 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 Meg didn't get as popular as the didn't get as popular as Christine. So because she's a dancer rather than a vocalist, and so I mean some of that's still there, but also it kind of emphasized like Meg. It's like I've done all of this for you. I've I've done all this for you, and this is how you thank me, kind of thing. Which wasn't a terrible thing, but I think it just could have been much better executed. Honestly, it just really could have been much better executed. Like I said earlier, good idea on paper. Execution in both the fanfic by Frederick Forsyth and the play was lacking. Could have been much better. I think if they used a different type of synth, I think it would have taken it out of the 80s a little bit. But I'm one of those guys who just I don't mind. I like 80s music, so I don't mind it as much. Oh yeah, they added more lyrics to this to his interpretation of uh, to his interpretation of "Till I Hear You Sing Once More," and they also pushed it to the beginning of the play rather than uh, around before Act One. Also, they changed the key. They changed the key, I think, for copyright's sake, even though it is the Actors Guild actually releasing permission to do this for free. But I guess they don't want to get flagged by Universal for this, so that's why they changed it. So it's about a key higher than it should be. They changed the lyric here too. Because they added cold night air instead of just the air, because I think because the rhythm just didn't feel right, and I think like only Remy Karamu was able to pull it off. But cold night air is not too bad either. It makes them more specific. I admit that was a really smart move, putting "Till I Hear You Sing Once More" at the very beginning, because that's what most people would associate with the play. So it's probably that was probably one of the smartest moves they could have done, was put it in the beginning. I also like how they simplified it a little bit with the Australian run by having it as a portrait. Because in the original run, I believe, like, in the original London run, I believe, for um, for that they were kind of having like Sierra Barges act like a mannequin or kind of like an animatronic sitting in the back, kind of like that mirror. It's basically that mirror from the original Phantom. Um, that image being in the background as a little bit of a throwback to the original play. So I kind of like that they simplified it a little bit with him and his organ and a portrait of Christine. So that part I really like about the staging. I kind of like the instrumentalism of um of the later introduction and the Coney Island intro, but on the other hand I could see why they edited it out, because it smacks too much on the nose of the original Phantom of the Opera intro, especially when it gets to the latter half, and it just keeps hammering in the head that it's a Phantom play. It's a Phantom play when the characters can speak for itself, and even the instrumentals can speak for itself. So that's one genius thing that I already like with this edit. And then they made the hint of it in the intro just after that performance of Till You Sing Once More. I like the bold red. And then there's lyrics to the Coney Island suite or opening. So before that was instrumental. So at least this makes it a lot more dynamic. So I like the color. It kind of reminds me of Don Juan Triumphant, like the last play in Phantom before the jig is up. I think you really get the chaos here with that introduction, and then you can just sweep yourself in the instrumentals. So far the edits are working a lot better. Very circus like. I like it. Now here's a big thing though I want to emphasize. These actors put in a lot of time and a lot of work, so let us not bash their hard work at all. Because it's clear they put in a lot with this revision. I think it's why they recorded it. I mean, the original they put in a lot of work too. Whoa. You can even like get the sense of the roller coasters in here too. Oh my gosh. It just makes me wonder like how do they fit all this on stage? camera director of this recording is actually not too bad. Maybe I beat this too harshly because I mean, the revision clearly it's putting us a lot in the show's favor so far, so it's not too bad. Okay. So it's a little bit more positive. I kind of like that. And then, you know, there were actually some hints to Raoul's more possessive side in the original play, especially the way that he was kind of coercing Christine to go along with the plan to capture the Phantom. It feels a little coercive. But on the other hand, in some ways, he was kind of a better alternative to the Phantom, especially with the way he was killing off the audience and some of the stage members. But hey, very Titanic. Very Titanic. That feather hat and everything. But it is time period correct. I admit, like, let me see. When did Model T come out? Okay, it's fused for the Model T, so of course they wouldn't figure that out. But the one thing I kind of wish the play kind of did a bit better was why Christine retired all those years. I mean, you kind of assume that it's because she's wealthy, so she doesn't really need to perform for art anymore. And art back then, especially the opera, in some respect, opera and plays in particular, were considered very lowbrow. So kind of understand, even though a lot of wealthy patrons were attending these things, so it's kind of understandable why she wouldn't be performing. But performance is kind of the reason why Raul and Christine kind of met each other, especially the fact that they know each other for years. So of course, Raul would know that singing was a big deal. But on the other hand, it could be a classic wealth thing. Is like, now you're under my thumb. You no longer have to do that. Basically, just no longer have to do that. You're done. So like, if they explained a bit more, maybe like why she stopped, especially if it wasn't voluntary, I think it could have been better. It could have been a better exploration, especially with why she does what she does later on. I will talk about that as we get to that point. We're about 21 minutes into the show, and wow, I'm talking so much. And also, especially considering what Raul knows, it totally makes sense why they're all like, yeah, no, not talking to you. And especially, what call it, especially back then, divorce wasn't really an option. If it was an option, it just was very looked down upon. So yeah. And also that "Come to Me, Angel" of music. Oh man, it's like I'm into real. Then you realize like, I mean, the character's like the first ten, then you just realize like, oh, yep, it's not Oscar Hammerstein the first who requested him over. But then here's the big question: How was he? How was Eric, aka the Phantom, able to get that news to fly in the press? Especially considering that Phantasma is a pretty big money making machine. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not hearing it. What? Wait. Hold on, take it off. What melody is it? Yo, okay. This is actually pretty interesting. So I don't think this was censored because you can still hear the cranking very clearly in the recording. Because usually with censoring in YouTube, it usually like you just don't hear a single sound. But here, it's like the way they were looking at each other. It's like, oh wait. And I remember in the original, very similar thing happened there, except there you can clearly hear the melody of John Juan Triumphant in there. And it was like the realization between Raul and Christine when they hear that, it's like, oh, that's like the Phantom's back to his trolling again. Dang. But yeah, this thing here, where you don't know what they heard, but obviously it's disturbing them, whatever it is. That's a pretty good move there. It doesn't. For those who are in the know, it's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, yeah, we're not ignoring you guys. And then those who are new to it, it's just like, what is going on? I need to find out more. And by the way, if you want to donate, even if it's just something very, very little, here are the organizations that this live stream is supporting um, for the play ones at least. So here's all the organizations. Um, so the UK, it's for the oops, it did not space it out. Let me correct that. Oh, it's not letting me correct the text. Hold on. So for the UK, it's Acting for Others. For the US, it is Broadway Cares. And for Australia, it's the Actors Benevolent Fund. So definitely check these out. Help out these performers to be able to continue on with their livelihoods. What's the melody? Oh my god. Oh, I admit the intro beneath a moonlit sky. It shows that the energy is very different compared to the original Phantom of the Opera theme because you have many years removed. And this is going to be the most hotly debated song ever heard. So, yeah, most heavily debated song in the in Love Never Dies, which we're about to hear. Now, I am one that is actually more into subtlety, so I didn't really have too much of a complaint with this song initially. So I was like, I don't really care too much. But for those who like something a little bit more obvious and visceral, I can see why they would complain about it. What I had more trouble with was I wish it showed more of the emotional or psychological connection between the Phantom and Christine. I wish they kind of went a little more, like the lyrics went a little more to that, and especially the degree of loss on both ends, which we do get with the subsequent song "Once and Another Time." Now, in the original show, it was back to back between Beneath the Moonlit Sky and Once Upon Another Time. So it was back to back. There was no breathing room in between, whether it was dialogue or something else. But here, I think they might have kept it the same. Let me see. Famous last words. Dang, that high pitch there. Oh my gosh. How could they make it any more obvious? Like the acting already does it. So honestly, I don't get the critique. with a need to urge to deny. That is so obvious. Again, like the acting was way more obvious. Oh, they added this part. Oh wait, that was in the original. Never mind. But the way they did it here was way more dramatic, which I admit that's much better. It's still back to back like the original. Dang. So Hammerstein's an actual thing. What? Oh man, kid, you have no idea what you're getting into. It's their funeral. In some ways, the Phantom has not changed. These people he cares about, she cares about as a weapon. We're about 41 minutes into the musical. 41 minutes in. Dude! Oh, come on. It's not wrong, but seriously, it's like Disney Channel villain kind of stuff. Dang, she wrote quick. Oh, man. Also, apparently, Broadway Cares. They're also starting to to put up their plays too. Looks like they're putting up a like a like a variety of whatchamacallit, a variety of concerts up, which is pretty cool. And then even Cirque du Soleil put some stuff up. So we've got we've got a lot of performances to react to this month, which is great. Classic opera mistress right there. But honestly, I kind of imagine like Bathing Beauty to be more of an irony rather than serious show. Is another one that got debated pretty heavily. That's being generous. She knew. Dun dun dun. double speak. Oh my god. I admit, this is so interesting. Like, this is what happens when you meet people like 10 years later. It's like, oh my god, your lives are so different. And most of the time, not gonna lie, I've been the Meg of the relationship, not so much Christine, minus the jealous rage. Oh, dang, bro. Man. Oh, man. Now, God, stage design is brilliant. Like, honestly, well done, Australia team. Hmm. Easy math, dude. Yep. But also, did you not realize the possibility that maybe he's not blood related? Did you not think that? Then again, the probably was pretty good considering it happened. Yeah, no. Oh, that's it. Just didn't look like that, like this. I'm getting like Prince of Persia vibes, like from Sands of Time with all those guitars. Seriously, he has. I admit, it's a little catchy, though. I'm not gonna deny it. I'm not gonna deny it. Honestly, if they made this a little bit more like, it's getting a little bit of that vibe, but if they made it a little bit more like, In the Dark of the Night, like in Anastasia, it especially would have worked here. Well, it's 50% chance it might not be. Probably because of his dad. Again, this is shot very well, very well. Love Never Dies, the Phantom of the Opera sequel. My dad, audience. I mean, like, the dark nature of the guitars really works here. I like the choir in here, too. Yeah, very, Darker than Night here. Dang, that's high. Dang. Oh, snap. Here we go. Oh, boy. 5825. Okay. Why are you pulling this now? Okay, fair argument. Oh, okay, there we go. Confirmation. think he already knows. Oh gosh. Dang. That that broken voice is pretty good. Whew. It's like oh. It's like what? Woo. Phantom flashbacks. Ouch. Dude, you know Secrets destroyed you guys before. That's generous. And I admit I like this edit because it makes it more voluntary for Christine's end rather than coercion in the original edit. Whew. Also very much akin to what was that song? Say you'll share with me one love, one lifetime. Oh, that's all I ask from you. That's it. That's it. That's all I ask from you. Give us that energy. Sorry, that wasn't really my best work. I wasn't warmed up, but anyway. But I also like the fact that like the Phantom gets more of a conscience here. Dang, dude, you don't deserve that. You've gone through enough. I actually felt bad for him here. Dang. The possessive part, however, needs to work some work. Woo! Oh, oh. Hope nobody heard that. I love how this place looks like crystal prisms. It's really cool. Wait. What's that up there? Oh, she totally heard. She totally heard. Uh oh. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dang, man. Whew. But it makes sense it's Madame Curie that kind of gets that. It's like, wait, I made you survive. I helped you survive for so long. This is how you thank me. And honestly, it would make more sense if like Madame Curie was the one to pull the trigger, not Meg. Sorry, spoiler alert for Act Two. All right, we're gonna take a pause here for most of the ads. It'll be at this point that the show pauses. I'm gonna take a pause here as well to stretch my legs. So yeah, it's about a minute 25. That's when the Act One ends. So we'll come back in a minute, like in about 5 minutes. So go get yourselves a drink. Go get yourselves some food. Do whatever you need to do to feel like a human. But until then, please stay tuned. Please check out my social media. Thank you so much for jumping in on this broadcast. For those who decided to come in, I know originally this was supposed to be a write-in, but my hand is still out of commission, so I'm afraid that's not going to be happening. It's not going to be happening today, and I mean, I will still do prompts for the foreseeable future for the Write With Me's for this point onward, so at least it'll give you a little bit more motivation for the even number of days. But it looks like in terms of live streams, I think the most I'll be able to do is performance reactions until my hand is back in commission because it's very, very sore right now, unfortunately. But in terms of other things that I can do that will give you a little stress in my hand, there are still the readings that I will give in my Fiverr shop, Wax and Gibbous Witch. You use the code EARTH, you'll get extra runes and cards of clarification. The Ostara code is still good. Um, the Ostara code is still good until May 15th, basically on Beltane. And of course, I'm going to be attending Odunde, barring they don't change the date, and the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair with discounts to those in costume. So, okay. I'm going to be back in about 5 minutes. So until then, chillax. We shall be back with part two of Love Never Dies. My initial review so far, it's actually gotten a lot better with the edits, and the motivation makes more sense. With Madame Curie's drilling nature, it makes more sense why Meg would be more stressed out about having her lead taken away from her, her thunder being taken away by Christine. And also, Christine has a lot more boldness in the 10 years. I mean, at first you think it's like she's coerced so easily, but then you see her, she changes more. Same with the Phantom. If you look at the Phantom, you get to see his evolution over those 10 years of being on the run. It took a toll on that killer nature that he had initially. He now has more empathy, so the empathy actually feels more hard won compared to the previous things. Granted, it doesn't make him any less of a murderer, but the fact that he's starting to get remorse for his actions, it's progress. I mean, it's a little bit more progress. The sympathy is a little more warranted, and it's just he's seeing the consequences. It's a great thing, and of course, the envy, the envy of the stage mother, very classic concept, and not a trope that's very often acted upon. So again, already I'm liking a lot of the changes they brought in here. So yeah, I'm actually kind of excited to see the second act. So I think Love Never Dies was bashed way too hard, and I am a Phantom fan actually. So I feel like I think Love Never Dies was just bashed just way, 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 way too hard. So yeah, gonna be right back. Give yourself 5 minutes. Enjoy some background music by Kevin MacLeod, which I will have to put the background credit at some point. So relax with some Kevin MacLeod. We will be back with more Phantom of the Opera. So here is Liverprint Elevator, in case you're wondering. So yeah, relax with that. We'll be back. I just realized I muted the music part, didn't I? No, I muted it. I did it right. Okay, I'll be back. Back in about 5 minutes. So enjoy this little intermission. We shall be with part two. Realize another thing. I forgot to switch my sound source. I apologize. I am really not very savvy right now. Okay, take 3. One more time. 5 minutes. Here we go. Let me start from the beginning. Hold on. Okay, 5 minutes. Starting now. in the information for in case you want to check out. By mods, I mean me, honestly, because I have a second account. But anyway, um, in the chat we are starting up Act Two for this live stream. So we're starting up at a minute 5. Sorry, 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 25 seconds. That's where Act Two begins. Most of you may have come across a commercial during that point, so in that case, you're probably going to be fine in terms of following along. But for those who are not following along, or coming in later, you follow around this point. But if you're using a rental or a purchase to follow along with this watch along, of course, go to your respective timestamp in your video. So we're going to start up with Act 2 of the show. So I also put on subtitles for my um, for for my end as well, so that I can see the lyrics a little bit more clearly. I have really good hearing, but I also just really wanted to be like absolutely sure that what I'm hearing is what I'm seeing as well. So there's a little bit of insurance. So I got some mixed nuts right here, obviously, and I made myself a flat white with some chai and a couple of flavored creamers from Starbucks. Specifically the caramel brulee and the cinnamon dolce. They really do mix together pretty well, so definitely check those out. But yeah, so if we saw the part that I said earlier, I feel like I may have bashed Andrew Lloyd Webber too hard because he is the one that brought these things to the stage in the first place. So in that respect, I totally respect him. I'm glad that he made the decision. But you also can't deny, in some respects either, that he made some less than optimal adaptation decisions. And if you let the other directors just take the reins off of him just a little bit, let them do their work, do their jobs that they want to do, then I think a lot of the adaptations that we had, such as the film version of Phantom of the Opera with Emmy Rossum and Gerard Butler, or even just the original adaptation of Live and Let Dies, the remake probably wouldn't have been a thing. It would have run on as planned in Broadway and in the West End simultaneously, and it possibly could have lasted as long as Phantom. Maybe not as long in terms of its stage run, but certainly it would have left a better legacy compared to this collective Broadway PTSD attack that happened on Twitter. But nevertheless, the actors clearly did a great job. The directors and writers certainly did a great job in terms of the production of this musical to make sure it's better, takes out the taste of the blended production out of their mouths, and certainly the camera direction in this play is excellent. I think Broadway certainly needs to consider actually recording more of their shows, because then for those who are just not able to show up in person, they at least get the opportunity to even get a taste of what show you're about to see. I feel like this was more. It's kind of sad that these recordings were actually more common in the 80s and 90s, when it was obviously you couldn't make it to a show because you're either too far or you were too poor. Nowadays, there are lotteries that make those who can't afford to go to shows typically would be able to go the day of if they happen to show up in New York. So there's a lot more affordable plays that are up there. So I guess it just didn't really think like, hey, you can catch it on TV now, or you can just listen to the soundtrack and you'll get enough of the experience. Not always. There's some things that you got to see on screen or on stage to get the full breadth of what you're seeing. So I think with these videos now coming on YouTube and stuff, like from like the Les Mis anniversary performances to some of the Disney musical performances to now Andrew Lloyd Webber's performances, Andrew Lloyd Webber's musicals coming onto small and big screens everywhere. I think it goes to show that camera life is important. I mean, the stage is important too, and I think that's going to make a I think it's going to get a huge renaissance once we get out of this. Is like people are going to value the plays a lot more now. But then I think especially the recordings of said plays, they're going to be valued so much more now, thanks to the people who actually took the time to actually film these. So huge gratitude to the teams that helped make all these stage productions possible, especially all the actors and producers and the stagehands and um, dramaturgs and all these other people who have managed to make these shows possible. So thank you. And also thanks to Angela Weber for reintroducing an old French tale to many literature buffs out there. Without this play, I probably wouldn't have bothered with the original book. Let alone be as passionate about the arts as I am now. So thank you. And on that note, let us start Act 2. Like I said earlier, we are about an hour, 5 minutes, and 25 seconds. Um, in case you are wondering what I'm using here, this is the page I'm going to be using. Keep in mind that this is going to go off in 48 hours. So please, if you happen to come into this long after this broadcast is over, that means this show is no longer available on YouTube. You're going to have to purchase it or find another way to watch this. But yeah, so far the Actors Fund for the COVID-19 Emergency Relief Fund, it has gotten up to almost $500,000. So you guys are awesome. Also check out the charities that I have described in the description as well. Let's help our actors to basically not lose their jobs. Okay, that's the best thing that we can do right now in this time. Is just make sure that people don't get hit too hard by this recession. So yeah. So anyway, we are going to start up part 2 in 3, 2, 1, start-ho! Because of vows, man. You know, I think he has some PTSD of his own too. That he just, but unlike Christine, he just doesn't have an outlet to express it properly. Oh, snap. Uh-oh. Don't underestimate him, man. You see what he could do 10 years earlier. Uh-oh. Yep, there you go. Proof. I'm drinking now. Dun, dun, dun. Mm, mm, mm. Uh-oh. Oof. Dun, dun, dun. Oh. She's not a prize to be won. But I do agree. Do not deny her talent. Way to go! Husband of the Year, audience. Here's another infamous number, Bathing Beauty. Uh-oh. I know they're trying to lean toward more the New Yorker flavor, but I guess like and then I know I wanted to go a little bit more of a joking flavor, but I think it's because like they made them too nasal. It makes it feel annoying very quickly. So I can see why it's infamous. On the other hand, though, it's not too terrible. And ooh, how do they do that? Okay. How did that all fit under there? Okay, that's impressive. And I think it's where the Broadway show might have done this a little better. This is not too bad either, though. Oh, she actually is pretty. The costumes are really well done here. Woo! Throwback Snack time! He knows. Oh. Oh, snap. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. He was watching. Ooh. I love this stage direction. It's so well done, and the shooting too. Just oh my gosh. Uh oh. Uh oh. But the fear on her face is really well done. Oh my god. Oh boy. He's not wrong about that. Oh my god. That zoom in, that's so good. Uh-oh. Now she has a huge decision. Good question. That's the other thing. I like that it takes its time with her thinking here. That's the one thing that was absent in the original, I think. Because in the original, it was just too obvious that she was going to go for it. Oh, it's prima donna. Oh my god, it's prima donna. Oh my god, that moment. Yeah, I like this part because it's like it makes her genuinely think. It's like in the original, it felt so obvious that the Phantom was going to be the one that was chosen. Whereas here, it's a genuine difficult decision. And again, great throwback to Phantom of the Opera. I'll drink to that. Oh boy, with that creepy piano, you know something bad's coming up. I like this. Oh! We're all gambling. And also especially with Christine in particular because like back then like the opera was much more rigorous and so it was very easy to become a quote unquote has been back in the day. So compared to now where opera singers probably perform for like decades and not lose their voice too much unless they do like something damaging like Maria Callas or Julie Andrews, but at least have like the acting to be an alternative. Whereas here it's like if you lose that one thing being a star, that's it, you're done. So so oh snap. But that timing. But yeah, so Christine, it's like on the one hand, it's like it gets her out of that has been territory because like it's back to where she was 10 years before. But on the other hand, though, safety of her family. So it's like choosing career or family. Why can't I have both? Also, I just love the peacock imagery here. It's gorgeous. Of course, she just can't resist the temptation to go back out there on stage because everybody wants her to when she wants to. Expecting there were no recordings. I admit the song is really repetitive. I thought there would be a little more melisma or something like in Think of Me, but it's not here. I think I guess we need a little bit more rewriting because it doesn't it it doesn't feel like one of those comeback tracks. Though the high though kind of gives like comeback feeling. It just doesn't feel like a big push. It's all right. The visuals are amazing. Like, they just don't match with the music at all. Like the music needs just a little bit more oomph, a little bit more variation, like in Think of Me, and it would have worked. I mean, that one's a little bit repetitive too, but there it worked. And again, it's more internal, so it kind of makes sense. Like the acting, especially, is really good here. Wait, what's happening? Whoa! Oh my god! Dang, that got heated really fast. Good lord. Oh snap. Dang. Does he know? Okay, he would know. Thankfully, the freaks are helpful. Dun dun dun. Now you're thinking this now? Oh my gosh. can't be sure. Don't tempt the desperate man. Or in this case, uh, dancer. Because I really feel the chaos in here. That's where the drowning part came in. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's supposed to be a pier. What a limerick. Oh dang. Oh snap. Oof. Dang. I mean, this makes more sense, but it's still sad. Okay. Weird, but okay. Uh oh. Uh oh. Oh no, you should have said that. Oh! All that boning, it should have been like some ricochet or something, but okay. But I mean, I mean, if you look at the like the tombstone in the original Phantom of the Opera, at least in the movie, it was around here. But unfortunately, she passes away. It never shows how though. Oh man, that reprise of of till I hear you sing once more. Wow, very much a mirror back to the original. Throwback time. There's so many parallels to the original play, so I think you actually do need to watch Phantom of the Opera to get the full appreciation of the show. Honestly, Hmm. Wow. That orchestration, man. Whew. And with that, that is the end of Love Never Dies from the Australian rewrite. And I gotta say, bravo. Bravo, guys. That was really good. I feel like some of the bashing, I feel like it's just to bash for the sake of bash. I feel like this rewrite actually did things a lot better. I could see how Phantom of the Opera fans would still be upset about the way things turned up with the characters, but if you really think about the circumstances back in that period and some of the things they went through, if we take out the modern mindset that we have now, the circumstances, excuse me, they make 100 times more sense if you think about it in context of the time period. So think about it this way, it makes 10 times more sense why the fates ended up the way they were. Though I admit, Raoul's downgrade does need a little bit more of an explanation. But on the other hand, though, considering that Christine went to the Phantom before they even got married, that does make sense. So, hey. But this was fun. This was a lot of fun. But for those who hate it, I get why. But if you're just hating it for the sake of hating it or going for the hype train, just think about it a bit more. Get more specific about why you're not a fan of it, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Oh, man, the chemistry was amazing. The stage work was brilliant. And even the camera work. The camera work was the best part of this play. Honestly, way better than the movie. Please go check this out if you can. Also, the anniversary special of Phantom of the Opera, starring Ramin Karimloo and Sierra Burgess, because that was pretty good too. Here again, these guys do it night after night, so you really have to have really good vocal capacity here and good self care. And that was Love Never Dies. So, anyway, that is pretty much it. That was the Australian rewrite starring Ben Lewis as the Phantom and Anna O'Byrne as Christine Daae. So, if you want me to react to any more stuff from the shows Let's Go On, which special thanks to that channel as well for having these free shows. But anyway, if you want to check out that stuff, feel free to do so now. You only have maybe like 48 hours to check it out, so just go watch it. You have like another, let me see. You have another, let's see, 40 hours. So you've got some time to check it out, but check it out sooner rather than later. So here's all my social media in case you want to check out some of my other stuff that I've done on this channel. This reaction is going to be a YouTube exclusive. So for those who want to watch in the future, definitely check it out. Um, I also have a shop on Fiverr called Wax and Give a Switch, or Wax and Give a Switch for full name. Um, Today was supposed to be a write with me, but considering my hand's condition, I think for the next few days, I'm going to focus more on prompts rather than writing in and of itself. Um, and the sewing, since it's not as much work on my hands, you will see that tomorrow, at bare minimum. As some special discounts on my Fiverr shop. Coming soon, there'll be like pay what you want readings for nerdy card readings. And of course, Odun Day's 45th anniversary, barring any date changes, will be happening the same. And the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, which is open to anybody, and discounts, of course, to those in costume. So, until then, thank you so much. Encore to all performers as soon as we get out of this crisis. And, of course, my beautiful people, your stars will shine pretty soon, whether on stage or somewhere else. And, of course, may your heart be your guiding key. Till next time, everybody on stage and on here, I'll see you later. Bye.